Hi everyone, thanks for joining this live. I'm going to be the moderator today on Calm Collective's end. So at the moment, let me just wait for the woke salaryman to join. Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Grace. Nice
Hello,
to see you.
hello. Yep, hold on. I'm just going to invite Sabrina. Sabrina is the
Can
founder of Calm Collective, for those of you who have just joined and are waiting.
can you hear me, right?
Yep, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, Sabrina. How are you? Busy day?
Okay,
Oh, okay.
quite okay today. Hi,
Hey!
Sabrina.
Very nice.
Oh my god! It's so it's like that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's about this size, but I might be large as well. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not
if
that
Mm,
large.
yeah, if it was a baby, then it would look bigger.
Yeah, it's a bit bigger than your normal marshmallow.
Just a bit bigger lah.
how
Yeah.
big is that? Like you put next to your head?
10 cm. 10 cm. Yeah.
Okay. Oof, okay. All right. There's like almost 300 people right now.
Hey,
So
Ichen.
let's just kickstart it. Hi, guys. Welcome to this hopefully 1 hour conversation about financial slash mental well-being. My name is Grace. In my day job, I'm a journalist. In my night job, I just do whatever shit I can. So I'm joined today with Woke Salaryman's Wei Chun and Calm Collective's Sabrina. Throughout the session, I
Hi.
mean, you can type your questions into the question box at the bottom or into the comment section. Yeah, whatever it is if you like. And if I catch your question, I will ask them. If you really want your question to be asked, please feel free to, just continue spamming the comment section if you really have a burning question you want to ask.
I thought I said must
Um,
donate, then the message will come up. Then
Can
they can
donate?
really?
get their questions answered. No, I cannot. That's a Twitch thing. I'm just joking. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, there's no donate link or anything. So
yeah. So just spam
Yeah.
lah.
you can just like
Huh?
like get send hearts.
Yeah. I mean, we won't deny money as well
When
if you
will
wish
the
to
red
donate.
race end? Sorry, just reading the comments.
Yeah, when will it end? Why don't you start with introducing yourself, Wei Chun, and answering that very important question?
I think that's a difficult question to answer because it has to be put into perspective as to what you define red race as and what is your finish line, lah, right? So I'm not gonna tackle that one yet in this way while introducing myself. So I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Go Wei Chun, and I am one of the co-founders of this webcomic called The Woke Salaryman. What we do is that we try to make the very complicated and often boring topic of personal finance easier to understand and also more fun and entertaining to read about. So our goal is to increase financial literacy because we generally do believe that in most circumstances, being more financially literate will make your life better, lah. Yeah.
Is the goal still the same now as it was when you first started?
Uh, yes, still the same, but when we first started, honestly speaking, it was a lot more angled towards making money. So now still want to make money, but we are because we have a little bit of a treasure, not treasure chest, how to say, like a battle chest of float liquidity pool, say money stored up.
Fuck you,
We
money.
can sometimes forego immediate gratification in terms of money to go for long term goals, lah. Yeah. You were saying?
Mm.
Sorry.
Oh no, I mean I hear the term like FU money, right? So
Yeah.
not quite that yet, right? Is it?
Depends also how you define every. So I'm very disclaimery about these things, like, but it also depends what you mean by FU. So if you ask me, I'm not yet, but some people might say that my position, my current status can consider. But in my opinion, I never ever want to stop working like that. So the idea of FU money, or also what they like to call the FIRE movement, i.e., financial independence, retire early. I like the FI bit, but I don't like the RE bit. So the idea of FU money, honestly, never really appealed to me. I think FU means I can say FU to things that I don't want. But honestly, if you're somebody who has enough agency and enough leverage in your life, you don't need to have achieved financial independence to be able to make choices and have options, i.e. to say FU to people also. So it's a nuanced question also, I think. Yeah.
Can we actually say out the full term FU? Because I feel like
I'm
most
not gonna
people are
say
not.
it. I don't want to get cancelled, but
We
you can
won't
say
get we
it.
won't get kicked off, will we? I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so
No,
because
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
the
for
Instagram filter is so good.
True.
I
And
mean
if
for
you say it
people
in a
who
Singlish
don't,
Yeah.
way, it's okay. How do you
is
say it?
there
I
a
don't know if
Singlish
English
way?
will save you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
I'm not
mean,
gonna say it.
okay, so in case you just joined, what Wei Chun and Sabrina were talking about regarding FU money, it's basically fuck you money. Uh, I think,
Yes.
yes, in another way, it's called a fuck off fund, which essentially means a fund that you can tap on in order to, you know, kind of fuck off from whatever situation you don't wish to be in life anymore, whether it's an abusive relationship or an abusive workplace, and know that you will be financially safe. So that was what FU Money stood for. So in case you've just joined us, this this IG live today, it's about, can money buy happiness? Basically, it's about balancing financial well-being and mental well-being. Should there even be a balance? Are the two even on two opposite ends of the spectrum? So I'm going to be the moderator for Calm Collective tonight. My name is Grace. I'm a journalist in my day job, but at night I volunteer with Calm Collective, and we're just joined with Wei Chun from Woke Salaryman, as well as Sabrina, founder of Calm Collective. So Wei Chun has introduced himself. Maybe Sabrina, you can kick off your introduction.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Sabrina Ui, and I am one of the two co-founders of Calm Collective Asia. So we are a mental health organization where we are normalizing mental health conversations, and the reason why we're here is because we believe that financial well-being is a very important pillar of overall well-being. So yeah, very excited to talk about money today and happiness. And today also happens to be our second birthday. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Congrats.
Yay! Yeah, birthday lah. Terrible twos.
So we can start off with the cliche that kind of formed the title, right? Can money buy happiness? People usually say that money cannot buy happiness, but I think it's quite an outdated saying. Do you have an update on this saying that kind of apply to your life? Do you think there's any truth though in the original saying that money cannot buy happiness?
So who start?
Up to you, Wei
You
Chun.
Okay, I start. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a bit out there, but also like it's a nice catchy little saying, right? And I think actually the gist of it is that there are some forms of happiness that money cannot buy. But honestly speaking, perhaps this is viewed from a lens of somebody who has had my life made better through capitalistic pursuit, right? So my experience is that there are some forms of money that there are some forms of happiness that money can buy, and there are some forms that money cannot buy. It's like the Mastercard ad, like, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's Mastercard. It is. I think it's a nice little thing to start off with, but like we have to understand that I think happiness also might not be the best term lah, but I mean it's a good term to start with. What I like to think more about is not just happiness, which is a very fleeting in the moment kind of sensation, but also satisfaction and meaning and purpose and things like that. Because those things are more like lasting and more like long term. But in a nutshell, because I tend to be very low-so and I tend to talk on and on, I will say that I agree with you, Grace, and I think money can buy some forms of happiness. Yeah.
What are some forms? What do you think? Do you have
So,
examples?
okay,
Like
I
in
think
different areas, different areas of
have.
your life.
Yeah. So I'm a very financial savvy person. So, but I mean, we talk about money also, right? So I think, for example, it can buy a roof over your head. It can buy food, shelter, for your family. It can pay for rent. I've been talking about shelter 3 times. Sorry, rent, food, water, utilities, all these basic necessities that definitely without money that you cannot afford, right? Your life might not be unhappy, but you are less sheltered from some things that could disrupt your happiness. Let's say if you don't have, for example, some savings and some emergency medically happens and you don't have coverage, insurance-wise, and you also are not able to tank, say, a $8,000 surgery, that would disrupt your happiness in most cases, even if you are living a vagabond van life kind of thing, going from city to city. So it's not so much that money might essentially buy the thing, but money can be a good protection against some things that might disrupt your happiness. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Mm. So
Yeah.
essentially, money can buy you the freedom to make choices that will make you happy.
Yeah, I think
No,
I
you do
agree
have
with
very good.
that. But
Yeah,
there's
it's
some
just
things money
really.
can buy.
Yeah.
Come again,
Yeah.
Sabrina? Sorry.
No. I think, I mean, to me, money, I mean, exactly as how Grace put it, right? To me, money is like my ticket to autonomy and independence, right? So that I can do what I want. I can work however I want to. And as long as my basic needs.
Sabrina, I think you are slightly choppy. No worries. Yeah. Okay, you were saying that money can buy you food,
Oh,
shelter.
no, I mean, I guess I was going at it from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Am I so choppy?
I think it caught up already. It seems
Yes,
okay now. Your
kind
movement is
of.
choppy, but the sound is not choppy.
Okay, so that I just don't move lah. Oh. Okay, so now I
It's
was
okay.
saying
I
that.
think money in this case can buy a good internet connection.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, but what about you, Grace? How do you
I want
define?
circles also. Circle is good. Yeah.
Define money.
Come again, define what?
Nope,
I
can't hear
cannot
you.
hear.
You're getting chopped off. Yep.
Oh,
It's
How
I'm
do you
okay.
asking
So
define
about
what?
you.
I will complete your sentence and answer according to how I define money. Yeah. So it's essentially buying me the freedom to make whatever decisions I would like to make, in order to give me clarity and peace with myself in life. So whether that's, finding a new job, going for therapy, doing things that better myself personally and professionally. If I have money that will allow me to kind of play around a little bit with my freedom, don't have to look for a new job immediately in between jobs. Yeah, then I think that's a reasonable level of financial well-being that
Mm.
I'm comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think also
So,
like we have to not buy. And I think it's pretty
I
clear what
agree.
those are because I also know a lot of people with a lot of money, but they're miserable lah. Like, so some examples of things that money cannot buy. My money cannot buy my grandparents back from the dead. Money cannot
Mm,
buy my hair going bald. It can buy some things to delay it. I can buy tonic or whatever. But the follicles they are dead lah. Like no amount of money can buy that yet for now. Money cannot buy me a healthy relationship with my wife if I don't put in the effort. Like, so there are also things that money cannot buy, which I think is the real essence of saying money cannot buy happiness. Lah. So, but if you do
mm,
it a nuanced way, like money can only buy some forms of happiness, some forms of happiness money cannot. Like then the saying like not very catchy already, you know. So we also have to understand marketing is marketing, lah, right? But there's a little asterisk to it, then there's subtext to it also, right? Yeah.
yeah. And I think one of the subtext or asterisk to the saying, underlying money can't buy happiness, is that it's grounded in passion, right? We're saying that passion actually matters, and it's like a driving force to actually, yeah, to pursue things in life, in work, in our relationships. But passion, being a generic umbrella term for good feelings, how do you balance between passion and practicality, whether it's at work or in your relationships or, yeah, personal life?
Maybe you let Sabrina, you start first. We test your connection, see how it is.
Yeah, we test connection, right? Yeah, but I think this was like a big topic I was thinking about 1 year ago because I was really considering whether or not I wanted to leave my full-time job to work on Calm Collective. right? So I'm very passionate about what I'm doing around like destigmatizing mental health. But at the same time, as I entered into it, or as I considered doing it full time, I was like, shit, it's not going to pay me as much as I would have if I had stayed in my former job. So my entire approach to it was that I really had to figure out how I could do it in a way that really enabled me to de-risk that de-risk taking that leap of faith lah. So what happened for me was that I guess I was kind of at the crossroads where I was considering staying in my current role. There was like I might have gotten a promotion in a few months. There were also other opportunities that came by which I was considering, but that also meant that it would take me away from my passion, right? Because a promotion or a new job would actually take away a lot of time. So I would kind of have to like, okay, passion, you take a nap first, right? But then what had happened was that we managed to get a grant, which then enabled us to defray some of the costs. I was able to cover some of my salary as well. So then I was like, oh, hang on. So then my risk kind of went down a little bit, because in my usual life, I would have to, like, you know, being in Singapore, I have to pay for rent. It's not cheap. And then the cost of living here is also not the cheapest lah, right? So the other thing that happened was that I was really lucky because my partner was going to be moving to Bangkok. So then that was another factor that was going to make it a lot cheaper for me to I guess live and do things, and it de-risked it even further. So then I was like, okay, then let me give this a shot. But even so, I told myself, okay, let me just try this out for 5 months, because I have my savings and my safety net. I have some, you know, pocket money for myself to try this out. But at the end of 5 months, or like in October of last year, I told myself that, okay, this is a point where I decide whether this is something I can continue or I can just make peace with it and get another job lah. So I think passion versus practicality, I think it's still very important to be practical, because I mean, it's really important to me, it's very important to know that I can take care of like at least like 6 months of expenses. I can cover emergency medical fees if I have to. Yeah, you know, that kind of stuff. I can like pay for food and not have to worry about it. I can cover like 3 months salary or 4 months salary while I search for a job as well. So so I guess it came to a point where things seemed to make sense from a more practical perspective. So here I am now, still doing it. But really going into it, I had to weigh out all the pros and cons and really understand the risk that I was taking to pursue my passion. So that was my approach to it. Yeah.
I mean, you did pursue your passion in the end, but I think it was a practical approach to pursuing your passion.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I mean, you know, if people ask you whether it's an idealistic decision or a practical decision, I think calling it an idealistic decision is wrong, essentially.
No, yeah, it took me like over a year to like make that decision, right? Because for that 1 year, I'm like, yeah, I would love to do this, but I can't, because I hadn't planned for it. I hadn't considered the risks involved, and Calm Collective hadn't grown to a point where it would make sense for me to actually give it a proper shot. So it was like that 1 year of hard work, consistent work before I could like even consider it.
Yeah, exactly. Wei-Chen, I want to hear about your perspective or how passion and practicality have, you know, balanced out in your life, especially because I know you told me about it in an interview once where we were talking about how, you know, you took a corporate job related to animation and all that, and you felt like you were kind of selling out. So in that sense, I think choosing practicality also required a little bit of courage on your end. I mean, I can relate because I have similar choosing practicality kind of story as you do. Yeah, but tell me about your backstory.
Yeah, so I super relate to what Sabrina said. I mean, it's the same thing because a lot of people saying courage in the comments. It absolutely is courage, and passion is important in driving you and giving something meaningful, because there are a lot of people that can make a lot of money, but their lives can be very hollow. I know these people personally, right? So they try to find meaning afterwards, which also can be useful that now they have money, then they can take time off to go and try all sorts of different stuff, like, oh, is golfing my thing, is four-wheel driving my thing, is mountain biking my thing. It helps if you have money to try all these things out. But for those of us that have purpose before we have money, which is my situation, you know, it was very difficult initially for me to I reconcile that. Like, I always thought like, wow, this is my passion. My passion is animation. Since I was 14 years old, and I saw this movie called Princess Mononoke, I'm like, this is my thing now. Like, this is what I'm gonna do for my life. And then I always told myself such silly things. I told myself like, I will never ever consider the idea of money together with my calling because it is my calling. I will never let the idea of profitability of business or sustainability business-wise economically to taint my passion of animation, you know? It was like that. So, but ironically, right, like you said, I took a corporate job doing marketing, you know, like I felt like I was just selling out because it pays so much better than my previous job. Ironically, when it came down to it, then we had the opportunity to start the work Salaryman, right? What allowed me to quit my job was that practicality that I had sort of sold out in the first place. So it's not like I sold out and then that's it now. I'm tainted with the brand mark of sell out forever. Like it's like you can sell out for a while, then you gather resources so that when you do your passion, right, you give it a good shot. Like Sabrina saying like, oh, got 6 months expenses, things like that. Actually, that was my I had three things that I needed to do before I quit my job to do work salaryman full time, right? All three is money based one. So if I try to recall, first one was that I had to have saved up 6 months of my salary. It's like what Sabrina said, 6 months expenses. But I say salary because I'm a very humji, risk averse, you know, scaredy cat person lah. So I say 6 months of my salary. Next one was that I needed to have the work salaryman, which I was doing with my co-founder Rui Ming, as a side hustle at the time, right? Our business would have to have earned at least $4,000 in 3 months in a row. So I was looking for a, how to say, inertia lah, like got forward momentum. Then I would dare to quit my job. And then the last one was that I needed to have paid off my uni debt of $25,000. And that happened actually when my company that I was working for, this medtech firm that I still think is a great place, uh, gave me a very big bonus. And actually that bonus, right, what they do at a company, right, and this is not the company's A1, so I'm not repping the company saying this. This is my manager when he hired me told us like, look, we are not a sexy company, but we'll pay you very well. And the salary is competitive, but I tell you the bonuses will keep you on. So actually when I got that bonus, there was another one due in 3 months' time ish. Usually around that year they give up bonus. And what people do is that if they want to quit, right, they wait until they get that bonus, then they quit. So I was telling my colleagues, "Hey, I'm gonna quit." Then it's like, oh, you stupid, well, I'll just wait 3 more months. But I had told myself that if all three conditions tick, I had to leave. And all three conditions tick. So I left during like the COVID period to do work ceremony. So can super relate with what both of y'all said.
Okay.
Passion is great for making the thing flow, but you need the structure, the protective structure of practicality to even give that passion a good shot. So I like to think about it like that. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, you ticked off like a very tangible checklist, right? 3 items on your checklist.
Mm.
Was there any way that you felt like you needed to feel before you were ready to take that leap? Like, did you
Uh,
kind of have a guiding feeling that you were hoping to feel first, or it's just like, okay, once I have those 3 criteria, even if it doesn't
yeah.
feel right, I'm just gonna take the leap anyway.
Yeah, that what you just said is the thing that I told myself because I'm an extremely risk averse person and I always beat myself up for being like that. So what I did was that when I made myself get in a good headspace, I'm calm, I turned off my computer, everything. I sat down and I really thought about it. Basically what I tried to do was I outsourced the rational thinking to a rational Wei Chun. Because I know that if I'm at that crossroads, right, I will not be rational enough to make that decision. So that's why I also advise for people who tell me they want to quit their job, just find a rational headspace first. Just calm down, breathe 15 seconds, clear your head, and then write a list for yourself. You outsource your thinking to a rational you. Then when the time comes, you just follow what you decided last time when you're calm. I think that's a good way to look at it.
No, but you know, that
Yeah.
said, right, like there's a rational part of you, but there's also the more emotional part, which will like panic and freak out when you're like, oh my God, when you look at your
Yeah.
savings maybe and it goes down when you take that leap, right? So then how do you find the
The balance. Sabrina,
So
you're
Sabrina, you're
hanging.
cutting out again.
Yeah.
Oh, got the circle. It's okay.
Yep. Well, I
Let's
think
give
she
her some
wanted to
time.
ask, how do
Oh,
you
you
how
want
do
to
you
interpret the
find the
question for her,
balance?
Grace?
How do you find the balance?
The
I can't remember the
the
balance between
balance
the
between what?
balance between
So
your rationale and rational and emotional side. Because I mean, listening to, you know, your gut feeling and intuition, all that is important as well. Would you really have taken the leap if at the moment itself you felt your gut told you it's not the right time to start Woke
Well,
7?
everybody told me not right time. My gut told me, my boss at the time, who I respect greatly and still respect and love now, also tell me like, what are you doing? It's COVID period. You sure or not? Like, if you quit now, I might not have a job left for you if you regret, you know. But again, I know that I'm a super emotionally dependent person. So like I can't leave it up to that side. So honestly, what I did was I just shut my emotional side out because I know that my rational side, when I wrote that list, right, I was also calm enough. Not say I shut it out during that time. I shut it out when it came to the crossroads, but I had counseled with my emotional and rational side together when I was in my calm state of mind. So that list was already putting everything into place, putting everything into factor. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Someone actually asked in the comment section, are we aware about this theory called the burners theory? I think it's the four burner theory, right? I think Wei Chun, you might
I
be
don't know. Do
familiar
you know
with
it?
it.
I don't know
So
it.
the four major burners in life, I'm actually reading off from Google right now. It's our family, our friends, our work, and our health. So in order to be successful, the theory basically says that you can only have three of the four burners at any one time. Yeah.
What is the four again? Can you repeat?
Family, friends, work, or health. Honestly, I think health comes at the top. I mean, without health, you can never enjoy any of the other three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true for me, like, actually, because I feel like, but the one that I'm not burning is family, like, because my family is in Malaysia. So, so it's been hard for me to just, especially in the past, like 3 years. I haven't been home in 3 years. I'm gonna go back next week. So one of the things that I'm thinking about now actually is, which is not very financially woke, honest. No, it's not financially woke. But it's a tough choice to make in Singapore, is to get a car because the car is extremely expensive in Singapore. And if you look at the car prices right now, it's super, super high. But you know, honestly, my parents are aging and like I want to spend time with them. So if it means I have to spend like $2,000 a month to, in a way, buy some time with my family that I might not be able to buy in the future when their health changes or when they're gone, I might have to take that hit in money wise, like, you know. So I've been thinking very, very, very long about that kind of thing. So it's not just money for me, like, you know, it's what to do with
But
that money.
also, yeah, exactly. But also like financially woke, right? This term, I think it doesn't just
Ah,
mean
yeah,
like, yeah, on paper it's financially sound. I mean, a car is a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
depreciating asset. Yeah, we both
yeah,
know. But if it gives you, if it's an investment in, say, your happiness or your family or your
yeah.
relationships, then I don't think
Mm.
you can necessarily consider an unwoke decision, right?
Yeah, yeah, completely. I'm glad you said that because I was gonna say like to disclaim the idea. I mean, honestly, I say financially woke. When I say it's a bit tongue in cheek also lah. Like, we are called the woke Salaryman, but I'm not trying to define any idea of wokeness or whatever financial. No, none of that. I think everything has to be conducted through you. Like, what is your thing in life? What do you want to achieve? Where is your peace? Like you said earlier, you know. So it all has to come through you. Also, you have to take it in and actively, like, you know, process it yourself. Hey, Sabrina, you're back. Yay.
Yes.
Yay!
Hello.
Don't worry, I've been listening. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, Wei Chun, you were saying about like how I mean you have to make peace with yourself, right? Speaking as a creative professional before, I think how did you make peace with the feeling of having sold out?
Oh,
I think
well, you
that's
know,
something that
honestly, uh,
a lot of people, yeah, might struggle with. I don't know, maybe people as idealistic as the two of us.
I think honestly, I've just been thinking about that, and right now, what I also do once a week is that I teach at NTU and I teach young animators. So NTU, I actually studied myself at NTU, so I know all the insecurities that they face. And honestly, sometimes right, my students are so damn good. I'm like, what? How am I teaching them? Like, they're better than me at drawing. But then that's the irrational artist side, and that's what makes it great. Like passion is irrational. It's romantic. It's emotional. It's subjective, and that's what's great about it. But I also sometimes have to be fair to myself and zoom out and say, well, I also have some things that I can teach them, say about the other side of graphic storytelling, which is also the business side of things, or like, compromising on sometimes your artistic self to deliver something that a greater mass public might enjoy. Sometimes, honestly, I feel like with the woke salaryman, I'm at a very ideal point. It's the most ikigai thing I've ever done, right? It's the thing that puts together the idea that I can earn money. I like what I do. I'm sort of good at what I do, and the society benefits from what I do. Everything is sort of fulfilled, and still sometimes I feel very insecure about my integrity as an artist, and I still feel like I have a lot of things to prove because even though I'm supposedly successful in this way, I constantly face imposter syndrome still. But I think that might be something that I can never get over as an artist. It is possibly the other side of what makes me compelling and vulnerable and also interesting. If I conquer it, I might be so stoic that I have nothing to say about anything. So that sensitivity also is what I'm trying to be more honest with. And sometimes it makes my work better, but then I also have to then sometimes, like you say, zoom out and be rational and go, we shouldn't be fair to yourself. You can't be good at everything. As long as people are responding good to your work and you're trying your best at improving, I think that's as good as you can do as a creative, lah. That's just my take on it, lah. Yeah.
And imposter
How about you? What
syndrome
do you
is
think, Grace,
something.
actually?
Imposter syndrome, yeah, is something that money can never get rid of, I feel.
No, no, as much
Actually,
as
money might exacerbate it, because you're like, I'm so
Exactly,
lousy.
exactly.
How am I earning this amount of money when my
Yep.
peers who are 50 times better than me are struggling to, I
Yeah,
think about that a lot.
exactly.
no, I mean
And
actually it's
sometimes
quite
like,
interesting that yeah. No, am I still lagging by the way?
No, you're
no,
okay
no,
now,
no.
you're okay now.
Yay!
Yeah.
Let's
Wi-Fi.
go.
Wi-Fi is better than 4G. So, no, it's very interesting that you mentioned how like you can't buy money to overcome your imposter syndrome, right? Or to fill those whatever gaps you have in your life, lah. Whether it's like relationships or whether it's just your own feeling of just not enough, right? So back in the day, I used to work as a DJ, and I would see all these regular patrons come to the nightclubs, right? And a lot of them would be popping like thousands and thousands of dollars of champagne. They would be rolling up in their fancy sports cars. But at the end of the night, I always found that, oh my God, these people are really rich, but a lot of them were quite unhappy. And that made me actually really, really sad. Because like in that environment where my young person perception, you're supposed to go there, have fun, have a good time with your friends. In such an environment, there are all these people looking for validation through their money to show at least outwardly that they're happy. But on the inside, they're not really lah. So even if like from my experience, or even if you have found yourself in a really, really good job, making a lot of money, it also doesn't mean that like just buying another car or buying another degree would actually make you any happier, right? Because that happiness has to come from inside. I think money, I think that goes back to the idea of like, is happiness really a thing? Richard, I think you mentioned that it's temporary, but I like to think of the idea of contentment rather than happiness, because that seems like a much more like, internal state that is not so much influenced by the external forces. Not sure if you've thought about that before.
No, I think one of the things that I used to think, and this is gonna sound quite bad, but this was me when I'm young, lah. So I used to think depression is fake, one. Like I used to think depression is just, I guess, just you are choosing to dwell on it kind of thing. But it all clicked for me when one of my friends described it like this. She said that when you feel sad, that is like the weather. Depression is the climate. It means that it doesn't mean that I can't feel this way or that way from one moment to the next. But the climate or the season just means that generally it's gray, it's dull, and it's bland. Doesn't mean I can't have spots of brightness or whatever. But it's a bit like when there's something that's hanging on your mind that you don't know what the resolution is going to be. You might be having fun and then you think of it and you go, you just go sian. So to me, happiness is that fleeting thing. But it's a nice word. It's a great word to use. And I think a lot of people connect with happiness. If you say contentment or satisfaction, it might not be as catchy. So again, the marketer in me is like, okay, maybe happiness
Yeah,
can.
same here. That's why we chose
Yeah.
happiness. Yep.
Happiness for me is like if I'm on a journey, right? Do I like where I'm at right now? That's happiness. But satisfaction and contentment is if I look back over my shoulder and see where I walked, am I proud of my journey? Am I gonna be like, hey, wow, I come quite far. So that is the thing that I try to look out for, rather than am I happy or not? Because like even if I'm like living my most meaningful life, like people cut my queue, I also annoyed, Like people spit or like, do the thing, that kind of thing, I also get annoyed. But that doesn't mean I'm not satisfied or having an overall good life, right? Yeah, that's how I like to think about it. Sorry to be a stickler on this thing.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, it's the entire title of our talk anyway. And I mean, I personally think that money can buy happiness, or at least it can buy pockets of happiness. Yeah, or it can buy things
What
that
was
will
the
make
last
me
thing?
happy.
Yeah, what was the
What?
last happy thing that money bought you?
A house.
Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wei
for me,
Jun,
I think
thoughts?
video game. A
Yeah.
video game, yeah. Yeah, but honestly, sometimes I feel I'm addicted because addiction, I think, happens when you do it ritualistically. You do it because it brought you good times in the past. But the more you do it, the more numb you get to it. And I fear that I'm getting to the point where I buy video games and I don't like them as much as I used to. But it still brings me joy, but it's like happiness. It's not satisfaction. Sometimes I go and look
I
at
think,
the amount of hours I spend on a game. Like, wow, if I spent that time drawing, I would have a comic book collection by now or something. But I don't regret it also because it's decompression time and it might give me ideas and stuff like that also. So yeah, but it makes me happy. Yeah. How about you,
yeah, I think
Sabrina? You ask everybody else.
your dopamine level has been
French
maxed out.
fries.
Yeah,
McDonald's
French
French
fries
fries.
is good. Yep, yep, yep.
Yes, it was very nice. Yeah. No, because I've been like ordering that. I've been ordering French fries via Grab. So one day, I mean, like just last week, I walked into McDonald's and I was like, okay, screw it, I'm just gonna have it here right now. And I already had some. I already had some like food before that. So
Yeah.
no French fries. I think it was like a few dollars. Very happy.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah, I
I will
think
double.
say
one
one
more.
thing, yeah.
You go first, Grace.
Yeah, one thing that always makes me happy, right? Whenever I spend on it, it's Super Ring. So whenever, yeah, I'm
Super
down,
Oh,
I'll
ring.
you.
just go to
Oh
the supermarket and buy like a bag of Super Ring. It's just like
yes.
$1 or 110, and oh my God, it
It's
just
like
makes me the
one like
happiest I've ever been. Yeah, it's like it's amazing. It's
there's
childhood
like
in a
sweet
bag,
and
essentially.
savory.
It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah. That's essentially happiness in a bag. Yeah, go ahead, Wei-Chun, you
I
were
think
saying
like
just now.
one additional nuance to this, right, is that I think a lot of times, and I think we've sort of floated around this before, is that the thing changes when you change the thing to does money equals happiness? Not money can buy happiness. I think money can buy happiness, we can debate, but like a lot of what happens, I think, with people who chase money too much, right, is that especially in the beginning when you are not from a rich or privileged situation, right, what can happen is that you initially start chasing money and it buys you a lot of things that immediately and objectively can make your life better. Like a proper roof over your head, a certain degree of, say, lifestyle. Like, I want to eat healthy. I mean, it's expensive to eat healthy, so you can objectively buy better things at the beginning with money, like especially up to about say 75 to $80,000 a year kind of salary. But because you feel like, oh, I've chased money for these past 5 years, 10 years, right? It must mean that the money is the thing that makes me have a better life, right? I feel like after that 80,000 a year kind of salary range, right, it gets to a point where it will stop being that money can equals to buys you happiness. So you have to think of money as I believe you think of money as a ticket to a destination that you want to go to. But the ticket is not the destination itself. Money is not the goal. It is the ends to achieve conditions that you think you would like. So I think that's a very important thing to definitively, I think I can go on the limb and say, even though I'm not representing both sides, I'm just saying for myself, money does not equals to happiness. Like it's just a tool to achieve the things that you might want. Yeah.
Mm. Has this relationship with money changed over time since you were young? Like, did you used to think of money in a very different light, the both of you? I mean, whether
For me,
it's in your
definitely. I
childhood
used to think that,
experiences.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
whether it's your
I used to
childhood
think that money
perspectives.
was evil. Like somebody asked the question, do you think money is the root of all evil? I don't think it's money lah. It is other things like greed or like like all your sins lah, like that is a lot of times expressed through money, because I mean money is a very flexible form of exchange and a very flexible resource that you can use to acquire other things. So it is not the root, but it is one of the conduits to evil, possibly. But like if you talk back to like the idea of money and what it meant to me as a kid, I used to think money was a taint lah on my passion. I refused to think about money in terms of passion. I used to think to myself when I was in uni, oh, such a naive thing to say. I used to tell myself, wow, if I can earn $3,000 and be an animator, I will just happily do that for the rest of my life. Wow,
Mm.
no leh, Wei Chun from uni, because like when you want to afford a house, you go and see how much the mortgage is. Then some of the things you might want to afford in life, you see how much that is. You realize that 3,000 is not enough. So I used to think that money was just a taboo thing that made all the things in your life go grey. Like it just makes everything a dampener. Like you talk about art and all these amazing things, then you start talking about budget, then you go, oh, you just spoiled the mood. I was just talking about all the amazing things we can do. Then you talk about money. Who's gonna fund this? I don't care. I'm just talking about my amazing idea, right? But I mean, if you don't think about it, it can't happen. Your dreams will just stay dreams. So I used to want to make like independent films, like animated films about society and like exposing the real crux of what Singapore identity is like. But then the problem is, who will pay me to do it? Do I need to get funding? Are my parents rich? My parents are okay lah, middle class in Malaysia, but they can't fund my artistic life and my artistic expression in Singapore. So I either have to get it myself or I have to get funding. Where do I get funding from? Is it like, for example, government agency like NAC? Not trying to say anything bad about them, but if I'm doing, say, a government agency, does that mean that my film I can be as independent and as free about my expression of Singapore identity that I want to say through my animation? No lah, right? So it has to come from somewhere. And if I can't afford it, what I might have to do is I sell out first. Then I afford myself some freedom to then go and get my artistic thing that I want later. So money also helps. And I also found that ironically, money was great in realizing my passion because it gave me the necessary float to quit my job and give it a good go. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Wow. Should I share also? Oh.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
please.
guess. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So I guess like for me, I had a very privileged childhood lah. So I was staying with my grandfather. We had a landed property. Both my parents were working, so I never had to worry about money until I was entering uni, when things changed quite a bit, because that was the time when so my parents divorced, and then my mom also moved to New Zealand. So as I was finishing university, when I was in university, I was like, la la la, yay, money's great. Anything extra that I made through my, side hobbies or side jobs, that kind of stuff, DJing also, that was all just extra money for me to go travel, for me to pay for things that I want lah, right? So it was like kind of like, okay, money is an enabler for me to enjoy life. That was my initial relationship with money. But as I was graduating school, because my mom was moving to New Zealand, she said, okay, Sabrina, I'm gonna move here, and what are you gonna do? And I was like, what am I gonna do? So then that was a time when I was like, okay, shit, I need to figure out how to pay for a roof over my head, because I wasn't going to have one. Thankfully, I had a year where I stayed with my uncle, and he, gave me free boarding, which was amazing. But following that, I would have had to find my own, my own way lah in the world, right? So as a 24-year-old, you can't buy an apartment. Obviously, I had no savings. I wasn't saving up for that. And then my decision back then, with a marketing degree, I was looking at the jobs available on the market, and it was like, oh, if you're lucky, you're gonna get like high twos, low threes, right? And I was like, how am I gonna pay for a rent? Because I'm so used to having my own room, So I want to pay for, a room is already at over $1,000 in Singapore. Oh my god! And then minus CPF some more. And then at the age, you're like, CPF, I'm only gonna get it when I die, right? So it was. So I think that was like kind of an awakening for me. So what I did was that I just chose, I took the route that was like was the most money making for me, which was at that point I was offered a role to DJ kind of part time on a part time basis where they would pay me like 500 or 350 per night, which was damn good lah. So I was like, at 23 years old, making anywhere between 4 to 6K. So that enabled me to save up a bit and make the money. But at the same time, around that time in my mid-20s, I was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it was really not fun. So having bipolar disorder, it also meant that I spent a lot of my money when I was going through my high risk averse periods where you're like, oh, I'm on the top of the world and I'm super, I have all these grandiose plans. I'm gonna invest my money in all these random shit, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy 10 million books, that kind of stuff. So I spent a lot of my money because of those hypomanic episodes, and then in my depressed states, I would be like completely flat and not ready to work. And a lot of the money would also go to my treatment. So mental health, like psychiatry visits, as well as medication. So that was like a few $100s a month. And I had like, I think several months per year in my 20s where I couldn't work. I just couldn't work because I couldn't get out of bed. So it was then that it really shaped, I think that few years of my 20s really shaped my perspective or my relationship with money today, which is to have that savings buffer to make sure that my mental health is also okay, so that I can, suss up my risk properly and make the decisions accordingly.
Yeah. So, I mean, financial well-being definitely contributes to your emotional and mental well-being. Yeah. What about
Definitely.
I think,
yourself,
and vice
Rachel?
versa also, actually. Yeah, I think vice versa also, because this is what my co-founder tells me a lot. My co-founder, for some background, is the same age as me. But he's richer than me, but he sacrificed a lot lah, like in his 20s. And as his friend through that period, I saw the kind of shit that he had to go through to get where he is. So um I resonated through also what Sabrina said, and I thought back a lot also about the vice versa situation where actually some people, what they do, right, is that when they chase their financial wellness, what they do is they do so at the sacrifice, a bit like the four burners thing. They do so by sacrificing either their physical health or their mental health. Like they work long hours, they take on high stress jobs. And sometimes it might get to the point where you deplete so much of that, right, that you are then, after you finish chasing money, you find that the lack thereof of either physical or mental health will cause you to then burn all that money away. So I prefer to think about it in terms of a marathon kind of thing where I'm not just thinking about optimizing the amount of sheer load of money that's coming in, but also whether I can sustain it or not. And maybe I can't. And that's okay. I wrote a piece a few months ago about how I was jealous of the fact that my co-founder attain a lot of money before I did lah. Sometimes I also jealous still lah. I mean, like, honestly, I'm human. Then sometimes also, like there's a platform called CNBC Make It, and they feature a lot of like very young, smart, hustly people, right? And sometimes I read it for inspiration and like to feel good about, wow, this guy is so awesome. This girl is doing great things. But sometimes also it can get you down lah. Like I'm just not in a good spot, and then like I got stress from work. Then my investment go down a bit. Then my feed comes up this 28-year-old who is a billionaire, and I'm like, I don't want to read that shit. Like, get off my wall. But I mean, honestly, like then part of it becomes you need to be able to process it, understand that people might start off at different spots. People might be chasing a higher velocity kind of a trajectory, and that's okay. That's different from you. If you want to read the story, learn what you can, think about what you can take from it for your own life goals and move on. So I see it in terms of like, there's a great film called A Beautiful Mind with, I think, Russell Crowe. And then the film is about how he hallucinates like people that will appear in his life, and he can never cure it. Like even when he's old, even when like, so one of the three people that he hallucinates will be this little girl. And his wife is telling him, you are hallucinating, and he won't believe her. Then finally he rationalizes, he understands now. He stops his wife in the ring. He goes, the girl never ages. That's why I know that you're right. They're hallucinations. Even when he knows that logically is fake because he has seen this little girl for 50 years. It's still very vividly appearing there for him, and she's waving to him to talk to her. So he still sees it, but he rationally knows how to go, okay, that's a hallucination, move on. So I see jealousy like that sometimes. I see like spots of mental lapses when it comes to especially comparing my finances to other people like that. It comes, I acknowledge it, I'm like, okay, there it is. I must be fair to myself, and then I let it pass. And that has helped me a lot like, in not dwelling on these things. Because what sucks also is that you let it consume you. You go, I'm such a jealous person. What's wrong with me? That was me during the first, I think, year of the work salaryman. Also because I'm one half of the work salaryman, so people find out, they're like, oh, you're the one that saved 100K by 30, and I gotta go, no, that's not me, that's my co-founder. And when you say that like past more than 5 times, it also gets to you like, oh, damn annoying, yeah. So yeah, like that mental health journey has been so beneficial for me, and then now healthily having a good relationship with my own finances that I don't judge myself and kill myself and be unfair to myself. Yeah.
I mean, which one, if it makes you feel any better, you were the first choice for this IG live. So when Sabrina was
Oh, don't say
asking
that.
me to
No.
suggest,
That's not what I wanna. Yeah. No.
I
Raymond
hope
is great.
Raymond is
Raymond
not
would be a great guest to
it's
see.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Raymond and I are cool. It's fine. Yeah, but you were mentioning about the piece you wrote about, yeah, you feeling envious about Raymond's amount, right, that he has saved. And I completely related to that. I think my relationship with money when I was growing up is that I was always very easily resentful about people who, towards people who seem like they have more than me or seem like they could spend money a lot easier than I could on things that I know I would have liked to spend on as well. Like, going on grad trips or yeah, just buying clothes and like buying expensive meals at restaurants almost like every week. And I mean, I feel like it kind of destroyed, I wouldn't say destroyed, but it affected a few of my close friendships. I would like not explicitly because I would keep it to myself, but in my head, I would look at the person a different way. So I would think, oh, you've grown up like so sheltered, you can't possibly understand my struggles. And so therefore, I would just keep all these things to myself and never open up, build all these barriers and all these defenses, and then therefore kind of like drive the person away just because of my own perceived misconceptions related to money. Yeah, but as I grew older, then I reflected a little bit, and it wasn't exactly the money that they had that made me envious, but it's maybe their free spiritedness or their courage to try new things, or their courage to up and leave certain jobs whenever they decided that they wanted to do it. Yeah, so it's all these things that I just happened to peg to the fact that I felt they had more money or they were more financially comfortable than I was, because I think that was a lot easier than confronting the deeper reason why I was actually envious. If I can tag it
Hey,
to
but don't think you
anything else,
mentioned money can buy also.
of course it can, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it was definitely more than money. But money was a very easy red herring, so to speak. It was very easy to say, okay, if I can have a tangible goal
Well,
of
I mean,
like say
that's a good point.
100K by 30, right? Yeah, then once I achieve it, I am on par with them or I'm better than them. Yeah, and that was my kind of like thinking back then. But of course, I mean, when I achieved it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, it doesn't make me any better. Insecurity still exists. Yep,
No,
it
I guess the
doesn't
question
chase
would
away.
be around what does it mean to be financially comfortable, right? Because for every single person, it will look different. And I think Wei Chun, you shared like what was enough for you to take that risk, right?
It's enough to take, but I think like the idea of financial comfort, right? I have dispensed. Maybe it'll change, like it's always a calibration thing, and maybe in 3 years it'll be different. But a bit on what like it's a bit like what Grace was just talking about. Like you think like, okay, this is the goal now. Like if I get 100K by 30, that's it. Like I've made it. I used to think that about like my salary. I used to think, wow, if I can hit 6K, that's such an incredible amount of money to earn a month. If I hit 6K, that's it. I've made it. Like then you hit it and you go like, you actually got something else on top. It's like the analogy I like to use is like it feels like you're in a box, then you see the ceiling to the box, like, and you think like, once I open this ceiling and whatever's printed on the ceiling, it could be 100K by 30 or $1 million net worth, or have 2 kids or whatever. And you think then you will see the clear blue sky, but every time you open it, there's another lid on top. And I just feel like I will never see the sky one. Like I just have to be comfortable with the fact that there's always something else above that. And I just have to be fair to myself. There's a term for it. It's called the hedonic treadmill. It's about how like you get one thing, then you need something else, then you need something else. And I'm okay with that. Yeah, I don't feel like I need to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have all these like shifting goalposts essentially. And after a while, I realized it's not reaching the goalpost that makes me happy. It's actually trying to reach for it. Like it's the,
Mm.
working hard to get there, learning about yourself on the way there, all these like professional and personal growth that makes me happy. And then the final goalpost, I don't know, just feels very normal in comparison to the idea that you've built up about it in your head. Yeah, it's no big
I
deal, no like fireworks kind of celebration after you reach it.
I mean, I guess the other way to look at it is also to kind of, instead of looking at the goalpost, also look at where you are right now, right? So, I mean, for me, what helps me a lot is to always like take stock of what I have right now, whether it's through like gratitude or like literally actually going into all my accounts and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm okay, I'll check out like, oh yeah, I'll add up all the numbers and I'm like, okay lah, I can, if everything fails, I'll be fine, that kind of thing. It actually gives me a lot of comfort as well. Even though it's not where I would like to be on my striving side is not satisfied, but my okay, relax one corner side is like totally fine, So it's about balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think finances and mental well-being are at two different ends, or I mean, what is that balance that you need to strike?
I would say it's a big part of mental well-being, right? So when I was going through some coaching sessions, right? So I go for therapy and also coaching. My coach actually sat me down and said, okay, Sabrina, draw a circle and this is your wheel of life. And then when you look at this life, which looks like a pizza, like draw out different segments and indicate what parts of your life make up your entire being lah. And one part of it was around finance, career. I also had things like relationships, environment, relationship with family, friends, romantic as well. And I saw that my finances and my financial well-being was a big part of it. It's I would just say that it's a part of my mental well-being overall, or well-being as a whole.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree. Me too. I think if I'm just gonna be very honest, if the money in my bank account is not, I don't know, if I see a number that I'm not comfortable with, it's definitely gonna directly affect my mental well-being. Yeah, that's really about it. Yeah. What about yourself, Wei Chun? Maybe you can summarize by sharing your thoughts on how money affects your mental well-being, if it does.
I don't know. I don't really. I just can't coming across like, oh, I've made it and stuff. But honestly, I don't
Mm.
quite care about the amount of money in my bank account past a certain amount.
But that's
The
but that's also
the
precisely related to mental well-being, right? Like the privilege of not caring or not like being so
It's a
stressed out
privilege.
over.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, I absolutely think it's a privilege because honestly, like, it is arbitrary. Like I just said myself, like, oh, I got 50K and above that, okay, already, yeah. But honestly,
Mm.
that's based on nothing. There's no guarantee that 50K or 100K or 250K is enough mark. The only enough point that I set for myself is this. Okay, I'm gonna get a bit nerdy and financial, but I think it helps because it gives some objectivity to this consideration of what is enough in terms of money point. There's a rule called the 4% rule, which basically talks about how to calculate, right? What is the point of money invested that you need to retire? So my point, and if you search the 4% rule, you can get a breakdown of what it means. But my enough point is $1.2 million. I've not reached that yet, but I'm on my way, and I'm confident that I can get it at some point, at least before I reach 65.
Mm.
So based on that trajectory, I'm okay already. Like last time, I might used to think, hey, I must hit it, I must work until I hit it, then I'm okay. But honestly speaking, even if I hit it, right, there are some things that can disrupt my life there are some things that might disrupt that $1.2 million that will completely just take it away from me. Like for
Mm.
example, and I toy lah, whatever lah, divorce or whatever. Let's say, oh, we have a kid, then child support, things like that that might just, or if I get a critical illness or something that is not insurable, it can just take it away. So I just think about trajectory. I think about velocity. At what speed am I going at, and what is the likelihood? If the likelihood is something that I'm comfortable with, I'm okay. I used to think that when I reach this point where I'm starting my own business, I would, like they say in, I think it's Chinese or dialect, is I will pian until I get it. Basically, I hustle as hard as I can until I get it. But I feel like there is no certainty. There is zero certainty. Even when I hit 1.2 million, there'll be something else. I'll be jealous of some multi-millionaire person. There can just be something that happens, a death in the family that sets me back. It will not be enough to insulate me from the vicissitudes emotionally of life. So whatever, if I'm on a good trajectory, I think good enough, I okay already. I don't want to worry too much about actually hitting it. Because I know for sure if
Yeah.
I hit it, I'll just think of something else to worry about. So I'm a
Mm.
perpetual
Yeah,
worrier.
completely
That's
agree.
fine. As long as I can logically check, okay already. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, exactly. And I mean, like you said, once you hit, like, say, the 100K by 30 mark, and you realize you don't feel any different. You still feel like yourself. You're living the same kind of lifestyle that you used to live when you had like 50K. Yeah, you realize that it's really just an arbitrary goal, and you build it up in your head to make it seem like it's the pinnacle of success at, at that age, or at that certain point in life. But yeah, reaching it, you realize, it's not. I mean, maybe the putting it on a pedestal thing kind of drives you or gives you some kind of empowerment to kind of work on your goals and
Yeah.
all that, but actually achieving it doesn't really do much.
Yeah, you said something about like fireworks just now that I thought was quite funny also because one of my biggest milestones in life that I set for myself was to pay off my uni debt of $25,000. And when I paid it off, it was the most hollow thing ever because the bank just sent you a letter like, dear Mr. Goh, we are informing you that your loan account of blah, 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 blah has just been closed. It will be closed within the next 5 working. I'm like, can you just congratulate me or something? Like print like a banner with balloons and the streamers and stuff. Just go, well done, you paid off your loan.
Mm.
Woohoo! I just wish there was something like that. Like, it was the most I think. And I think also somebody just said in the comments that was great, that we reserve the right to alter our trajectory. I completely
Yes.
agree with that, but I also think like what's
Completely.
important is that if you have an ideal trajectory in mind, right, I feel like it helps if you can try to give it a shot, to try it so you never wonder like, hey, would that really have been great for me? Like one of the things I always thought about was entrepreneurship. I always wanted to start my own thing. And I tried it. Some parts actually worked and some parts were not what I thought. But if I didn't try, I would still be wondering. So if you can find the space to do it, you can try the trajectory. But like that person said in the comments, sorry, I don't remember your name. I thought it was a great comment. Like you reserve the right to just alter your trajectory. But if you yearn for it and you can find the mental headspace to try it and the resources to do it, you should give it a shot so that you can settle
Completely
it and
agree.
say, I tried that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think what I'm hearing here is really like the money really just it buys you the peace of mind, right? And the autonomy or freedom to go do what you want. I'm not sure if that resonates.
It's a tool. It's
It's
a
a
means to
tool.
an end, but it's not the end, right?
It's not
Something
the
like
end.
that. Lah.
Yeah,
So what is
exactly.
the end? Yeah. Okay. Right now.
The end has been 4 minutes ago. We hit 10 p.m. 4 minutes ago. So this IG live is gonna end soon. Any last parting words of advice? Maybe I will start. Any questions from me, Wei Chun and Sabrina, as your moderator? Is there
Uh,
a question that you would have liked me to ask you?
that we can ask you
Okay,
now.
may I ask you first, lah? Because I think Grace, you have a certain like before you were with I think you're CNA now, you're freelancing.
CNA.
CNA. You're with Rice, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a certain reputation for being like a okay, I won't say I don't want to describe it wrong or whatever, right? But you have a body of work that is unique and has a very definitive style. And I not was I'm a big fan of what you did then. Uh, do you feel like now that you went from that structure to a bigger
Mm,
structure, right, that it has changed a little bit of what your artistic slash journalistic identity might be, and
mm.
whether that has changed or like you are just shoring up to express it or express another variant of Grace Jonas in another way later?
Oh man, I can completely answer this, but I don't think it'll end anytime soon. Let me just try and summarize my answer. So
Ah,
essentially,
okay,
about
okay.
like okay, so essentially, I realized where that Grace Jonas unconventional, whatever irreverent thinking that I used to do at Rice came from, and it wasn't a Rise thing, it was a me thing. And it's because I have ADHD. So essentially, it's because I have ADHD that I'm able to, think out of the box without even realizing that there is a box there, essentially. Yeah, so that's just always been me my whole life. I never knew until I got my diagnosis about 5 months ago. And yeah, so essentially CNA, Rise Media, any other outlet doesn't change the fact that that will always be me at any outlet. So that kind of like being different than whatever it is that the other people are publishing, that will just always be my essence. And I think it feels good to know that it's just always been a part of me, and that whatever brand I work for won't change that. Yeah.
No,
so they've sort of been like
yeah,
yeah.
but also
I know. I love how you bring yourself to your work, Grace.
yeah, I save a lot of money because I'm just so afraid, right, that one day I'm just going to get fired for saying something wrong. So at least if I get fired, I have that buffer, that financial buffer to like tie me through maybe say a year. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, any last words from you, Sabrina? About money, about mental health?
I guess it's super intertwined, right? So money has definitely helped my mental health, but at the same time, it's not everything. So when I look at happiness or contentment, I recognize that even if you have money, at least for me, what gives me the greatest joy is when I'm using that money to help other people in some way, or if that money enables me to help others, right? So yeah, I think I get my own happiness through helping other people, or when I'm just in my own space doing my own thing, reading or writing, and that's sometimes just
Yourself, Rachel, why don't you wrap us up with some quotable
I think somebody asked
kind of mantra.
not mantra, but I think somebody asked a good question, like how Guashkamoli asked, how do you stop feeling bad or guilty about being slower than others because of mental health issues? I don't know whether you felt that way, but if you have, can you share? I'm not even say like because of mental health issues or whether that is a mental health issue, but I just feel like I said about jealousy or it's not even jealousy now, it's guilt, right? Like guilt is different from jealousy. Jealousy is that you wish you could be more like other people. Guilt is like you blame yourself for not being as good as other people. It's another variant of it that I think might be actually even more I'm not gonna say maybe not insidious, but like it might set you back even more. I think the most important thing is to understand that everybody's different and everybody is motivated differently, and everybody also has their own different boss battles in life. We are trying to write a story now about actually how all advice is quite useless. Not really lah, but the main point, the takeaway point being that all advice and all things that you hear, this also goes on the things that appear in your feed, including woke salaryman content or the Calm Collective content or Grisio articles, right? Has to be viewed through the lens of you as a person. It has to be processed through you. So, for example, there are two good books, right? Ego is the Enemy. There's one. And another one, you would say on the opposite, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. These are both compelling books, but they're saying opposite things, like, essentially, if you look at it. And even when they're saying opposite things, like, they are both useful, they could both be useful to the same person. If I'm feeling particularly crappy about myself, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck can help me a lot. If I'm feeling too hyped up, like too full of myself, Ego is the Enemy might help me a lot. The point going back to not feeling guilty is that you have to be fair to yourself. If I can't convince you on a wellness level, maybe let's bring it down to a business level. Your business, the business of yourself, like i.e. your journey to making money and accomplishing your life goals, right, would not be run very well if you let these kind of things get you down. Even if you process your weaknesses as a business, right, you still have to think about doing it so that your business can keep on running. If you see your competitor in a business sense doing well, better than you, you will think about, okay, what does this indicate about my product or my service? And how can I learn from this? Or am I going to differentiate myself because I'm trying to reach a different target market? And I think you should think of yourself like that. you can look at other people, try to absorb from other people. But if it doesn't work for you, doesn't inspire, it's okay. Leave on, leave the thing, move on, and always think about it through your own lens. And it sounds a bit selfish, always benefit yourself, but you must always try to think about the trajectory of yourself to move forward at all times so that you can accomplish your own life goals. So you might want to be a bit selfish and think about it business-wise first. That helps me a lot in ignoring all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's
I
good
don't want
advice,
also to say too
especially
much. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's good advice for the person who asked how, you can stop feeling bad or feeling guilty.
Mm.
Looking at it from the business perspective kind of removes yourself from the situation almost. Like it's a very
Yes,
clinical,
exactly.
clinical, detached perspective, looking at yourself as like a specimen on a lab, for example. Yeah, and I think that kind of removes you emotionally from the situation, which might help you deal with your feelings of guilt or feeling bad from a very clinical
Mm.
perspective, which could help, get rid of it or even
Could lah.
alleviate it.
Maybe not all the time. Then some people will say, oh, you're so transactional. Okay, if it doesn't
Mm,
work for you, again, put a problem.
then
Then ignore
don't
what I
work for
said.
you lah.
But I can help
Yeah,
some people lah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Right,
have to
right,
find what
exactly.
works for ourselves, lah, right? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, everyone functions differently, so we need to find our own path to happiness and define happiness for ourselves
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Very, very nice ending,
to make
Sabrina.
everyone find happiness.
Thank you so much for joining all of us tonight for like an
Yes, it was
hour.
fun.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
could definitely go on and on. 1 hour is definitely not enough. I think we have just a lot to talk about this
No, we're only
topic.
scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wei Chun, want
All
to share
right.
anything about where to get more marshmallows? Are there any more
Yes.
coming?
Do you want to plug
Oh,
yourself
don't
or
ask me. I'm
your
very stressed about that. Like,
your
Don't wanna.
businesses?
Okay.
no, we made 1,000. Also, on the topic of mental health, actually, like we made these things to so people can own a bit of work salary madness and have this
Mm.
thing to remind them not to spend unnecessarily. Because when you look into its disapproving eyes, you might feel like, hey, don't buy that thing, right? So actually, this thing has been stressing me out a bit because we have to suddenly deal with so many new things like pricing and all this stuff. But again, learning journey, it's been useful also. So I'm also glad that I did it, lah. But I had to also zoom out from this a little bit and
Mm,
sometimes be a little bit selfish by saying like, okay, shipping we might not be able to get to, but please understand from our point of view also because we are
Mm.
not a merchandising business yet, lah. So
Yet, yeah.
understand a little bit, lah. Huh? Yeah.
mm.
So
Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta
sorry, cannot
manage
give you
your
an
own
answer.
mental
Yeah.
health.
Oh yeah, and shout out to the Woke
Exactly.
Salaryman, right? Yeah, you guys are gonna be sponsoring some seats to our Calm Circles. So those are the peer sharing circles for well-being and mental health. So we will be sharing a bit more of that tomorrow as well. If you wanna join in some group therapy, not therapy sessions, and connect with the greater community and talk more about money and happiness. Mm. Yeah,
Do you want to
thanks guys.
tell them what Calm Circles is about?
Yeah, so Calm Circles are Calm Collective's peer support circles where we talk about anything under the sun, really, and they're all guided by our trained facilitators at Calm Collective. It's a 90-minute format and it takes place twice a month starting the 10th of May. So you can find some information in our Calm Collective Asia Instagram profile, and more information will be shared on both the Woke Salaryman's and our Calm Collective's Instagram stories in the next few days. So yeah, follow both of us and good night. I mean, stay on that. Grace, say some more.
Yeah. Okay. Good night,
Close,
everyone.
close.
Join Calm
Time to
Circles
sleep.
by Woke Salaryman's Marshmallow. Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. It was fun.
Thanks,
Yeah, learned a
everyone.
lot.
Thank you.
Oh my
Yes.
God, tomorrow there's a talk as well, Grace.
Yeah, so tomorrow Calm Collective has this talk. It's on ADHD in adults. So can a struggle actually be a strength? We're going to be talking about it in the context of a workplace specifically. So I'm going to be moderating that. That's on Zoom. If you haven't signed up for it, sign up in the link. I don't know. In Calm Collective
Go to the profile.
Instagram account. It's about ADHD in adults. The panelists include one entrepreneur, the entrepreneur, she's 30 this year. She was diagnosed 15 years old. One pastor who's 56 this year. He was diagnosed at 55. And another learning facilitator who suspects he has ADHD. So we're just going to be talking about misconceptions around ADHD. I think it's going to be fun. Yeah, we're just going to be completely our ADHD selves.
Just geek out.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. See you. Thank you.
Thank you all. It was fun, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for engaging everybody and talking about mental health. It's very important.
Yeah.
I love what you all do.
And we love what you do too.
We
Thank you,
do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.